Welcome to The Explainer. We all think of our digital lives as being pretty weightless, right? It all just exists up in the cloud. But here's the thing. Behind every single click, every stream, there's a huge physical footprint. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on tech's trillion-liter secret.
So we have this image of technology as being clean, ethereal, living harmlessly somewhere out there. But a new report from the World Economic Forum is telling a very different story, revealing this staggering physical cost that's hiding just behind our screens.
So what is this massive number we're looking at? It's over 1 trillion liters. And that is the amount of fresh water the semiconductor industry consumes every single year, just to produce the chips that power, well, everything. Our phones, our cars, our computers.
Okay, next up, let's talk about energy. This figure, over 60 gigawatts, that's the power constantly being drawn by more than 11,000 data centers all around the world. Now, to put that into perspective for you, that's more than the entire state of California uses at its absolute peak demand. Wild.
And then, of course, there's the waste. This number represents a literal mountain of electronics, 60 billion kilograms of it discarded every single year. And the most shocking part? Less than a quarter of that is ever properly recycled.
So you can see the crucial point here is this stark contrast. On one side, we have the clean, weightless image of tech we all hold in our minds. And on the other, the gritty reality of mining, massive water use, and a mountain of waste. This is a reality that honestly poses a direct threat to the sector's own future growth.
So how in the world do we fix this? Well, the report zeroes in on a really powerful idea: becoming nature positive. And this isn't just about doing less harm, being less bad. No, this is an ambitious global goal to first halt and then actually reverse nature loss by the year 2030.
But here's where it gets really interesting. This whole transition, it's not just an environmental must-do. The report makes a compelling case that for the tech sector, it's actually a massive financial opportunity.
And they put a number on it: $800 billion. That's the potential value the tech sector can unlock by 2030. Not in spite of, but because of adopting these nature-positive practices.
Now, look at this because it's crucial to see where this value is actually coming from. Over half of that $800 billion opportunity isn't in some shiny new app or service. Nope, it's in the upstream supply chain. We're talking about things like smarter resource recovery, switching to renewable power, and creating circular manufacturing.
And this really illustrates the flip side of that coin. The report warns that companies that fail to adapt, well, they risk creating what are called stranded assets. Outdated infrastructure that's just unable to compete in a world of scarce resources and new environmental rules. Okay, so how does the industry actually capture this opportunity and, avoid that risk? The report doesn't just point out the problem. It lays out a really clear 7-pillar blueprint for action. So here they are. The report outlines the standardized roadmap built on these 7 pillars. It covers everything from water resilience and pursuing circularity to tackling what are called non-power greenhouse gases. Those are the harmful gases used in the actual manufacturing process, and getting the entire supply chain involved. The core idea is pretty simple. First, avoid the impact, then reduce it, and finally, restore what's been affected.
Let's just take Pillar 1, for example, water resilience. This isn't just about making small efficiencies here and there. It's about setting really ambitious benchmarks that, get this, are already being met, like the 85% wastewater recycling rate that semiconductor fabricators in Taiwan have already achieved.
And it's a similar story for Pillar 2, which is all about circularity. It's about systemic change. A perfect example of this is Australia's mobile muster program. It just goes to show this is possible. It brings direct competitors, we're talking Google and Samsung, to the same table to achieve nearly 100% recycling for mobile phones.
So you see, this isn't just a bunch of theory. Leaders all across the technology sector are already putting this blueprint into action. And what's more, they're proving that it actually works. And we're already seeing this momentum building across the board. It's not just one company doing one thing over here. We're seeing pre-competitive R&D on emissions, we're seeing enforcement of sustainability metrics deep into supply chains, and even collaboration on responsible AI policy. But despite all these promising examples, huge gaps still remain. Let's just go back to e-waste for a second to really understand the scale of this challenge. We are still producing 60 billion kilograms of it every year, and we're recycling less than a quarter of that. That represents a massive, ongoing loss of incredibly valuable materials.
This sense of urgency is captured perfectly in this quote from Oliver Wyman's CEO. And notice the framing here. It's not a choice between one or the other. It's an opportunity to lead in both economic growth and the nature-positive transition.
So here's the crucial takeaway from all of this. The tech sector's relentless, incredible growth is on a collision course with the planet's physical limits. The path forward isn't about slowing down innovation, it's about fundamentally redefining what innovation itself even means. And that really leaves us with a final question to chew on. What if tech's next great innovation isn't a product at all, but an entirely new model for sustainable growth?